Do you really believe that you can't change and you can't grow? Of course you don't. You're listening to this podcast. So do you really believe that you hate sales, that you can't do social media, that you and technology just don't get on? Or are you interested in getting curious about that today?
Welcome to Inner Business, the podcast that delves deep into the soul of entrepreneurship. My name is Selena Woodward, seasoned business owner, qualified business coach, and intuitive guide. I'm going to offer you actionable steps to increase your revenue whilst we explore how you are showing up in your business. Let's explore the blocks and connect the dots on your journey to business fulfillment. Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Inner Business Podcast. As always, I am your gracious host, Selena Woodward, the business coach who loves to help you see what's coming up for you in your business. And the astute amongst you watching this on YouTube will have noticed that I am not alone today. Woohoo! I am so happy to say that I have the amazing Sue Giacobbe with me today. Sue is very special to me because she is my coach, my life coach. She is probably the reason, one of the very big reasons that I am doing what I'm doing right now with you guys. And I have invited her to come along on the podcast today to share some of her amazing wisdom with us. She is an expert in our brains and all of the fun things our brain likes to do, like hold us back and cheer us on. I better be positive as well, otherwise Sue will be telling me I'm being mean to my brain again. Sue, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, and thanks for having me here, Selena.
Absolute
That
honor.
made me a little bit emotional when you just said that. Thank you.
Oh,
And I just want to say the gold has always been within you. I just facilitated, but you're an amazing human, and I could see all that was ready to come out, and we just needed to navigate through some curves and bends and
God knows. Peel the onion. Peel it. Yes, thank you. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without you because we can't see what we can't see. Hey.
That's right. That's right. And which is why I have a coach, because we're always our things we're blind to, and we don't know them until we know them. And then when we know them, then we have a choice of whether we want to stay stuck or we want to do something about it. So thank you very much. And it is very exciting to see you doing all of the stuff that you absolutely love doing. So wonderful.
I do love this. I do. And Sue's special talent, apart from being the biggest brain nerd I know, is NLP. Isn't it? So do you want to tell us a little bit about your practice and what you do with your NLP?
Yeah, so I'm an NLP Master Practitioner, and I'm also an NLP trainer. So I run trainings on practitioner certification. I certify coaches who want to go out there and spread the love to other human beings. But also the practitioner course is great for your own self-development too. So you don't have to go out and coach, but in whatever area, whether it's your life, your business, or your career, all the tools that you get in that training help to propel you forward and understand your own behavior and other people's behaviors. So that's what I do. My reason is because I believe we've created this amazing light, right? So when we're born, when we come into this earth, we're just this bundle of joy and light and love and happiness and playfulness and creativity. We're all that. And then life kind of happens, events happen in our life, and we attach meaning to them. We attach beliefs around it, and life gets a little bit stuck. We dim that light and we become a little bit more inwardly, and fear starts to be a big part of what we do, and it kind of displaces love and joy, and so we become more silent as well. We don't voice in that freedom that we normally would have voiced. So that's where I come in, and I believe that if we can remember, we can connect with that inner sense of who we are, that inner light, and remember who we truly are. And then we are reignited, go out in life and be who we were always meant to be without feeling, I guess, holding ourselves back. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is exactly, yeah. I mean, I talk a lot on the podcast about how, for me, my business has always been a relationship, a mirror that revealed an awful lot to me. And I've sat in that room where Sue is right now, working with Sue as her client, yeah, on that couch. So a lot of work, there's a lot of my energy on that couch. Sage it. It's beautiful energy. It's beautiful energy. Just really unpacking the roles that I'd created for myself, the boxes that I'd put myself in, the stories that I had created to, I guess in my brain thought it was to thrive and survive. But I kind of liken my experience with Sue, because I'm a tech nerd, a bit like having a software upgrade. So sometimes I was running operating system code from 1992 when I was 12, and I'm 40 odd now. So, I really shouldn't be living my life with the viewpoint of a 12-year-old, and it was really interesting to become aware of how my brain has created little, I still see them as little branches of code. I'm such a nerd that are running there that I don't even know. They're in the background. They're little background operating system files that just never got the memo that I don't need that anymore, or that's not serving me. And I guess the first challenge in life and in business is to notice the discomfort long enough that you can really sit with that. And I can remember sessions with Sue where I would come to her and go, well, this keeps happening. And she'd be like, well, what's the thought that pops into your head before you do that? And I'd be like, what thought? There is no thought. That doesn't happen. And she'd be like, okay, first job. Next time that happens, slow everything down. And there was always a thought. I wasn't consciously aware of it. And it's really fascinating to me that so many of us walk through our lives programmed by little bits of code that we've forgotten all about. And this art of tuning in and noticing is really the key to self-awareness, development. And as you're saying, even noticing that you're maybe not in the joy that you thought you were in, that authentic, beautiful, gorgeous, delicious light that we all carry inside us. I think it's amazing. And Sue has really helped me to come back to myself and really fully unlock all of that. It's, that's why I don't run edufolios anymore, because the business was aligned to a different version of me. And the more I came back to myself, the more that business I think I described it to you like an albatross. I don't know what to do, and she was like, yes, you do. I was like, you'll get there. No. I was like, oh, damn it. And I hate it when people say that, because I don't. Yes, you do. I do. Okay, I do.
And I know you don't now, but if you did know, what would it look like?
Yeah, she does say that. If you did know, I'm like, but I don't. And she's like, but if you did. She's great. She's really great. I can recommend Sue a million times. She's been awesome. And I was talking to another brilliant friend of mine called Jen Rafferty a few weeks ago, and we were chatting. We've been on similar journeys, and we were chatting away about our businesses. And she said something really great to me that I just had to talk to Sue about. I was like, oh my God, you'll love this. She said to me that her coach had said, look, you can't keep dripping your disempowering shit on your business. And I was like, oh, I love that. And here on the Inner Business Podcast, we are all about really tuning into self-awareness. And our business sends us so many signals about our disempowering, limiting beliefs or limiting decisions that we've made. And many of us just ignore them. So, I can remember at the beginning of my business really not liking sales. So rather than tuning into why I felt uncomfortable with sales, what was that teaching me about myself, I just avoided sales, which is really not a good idea if you're building a business. And you might be listening to this going, oh, yeah, can relate. Good. Keep tuning in, lean in. Let's go there. So Sue, let's start with that, right? if you know nothing about NLP and the process of becoming self-aware using your techniques, I just mentioned things like limiting beliefs and limiting decisions. What the heck are those? What are they and how do we spot them?
And there's also negative emotions.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Into that a little bit. Sometimes we're not even, you talked about not being aware of our thoughts. We're also not aware of our emotions, or we don't connect to our emotions, and we dissociate a little bit in order to cope, right? And our brain does this. So that part of our brain, the part that says, I'm here to keep you safe and we will survive, right?
Yep.
It doesn't even allow you to go to thriving, because it is constantly, its role is to make sure you stay alive. And so anything that's happened in our life, any event we perceive to be dangerous, and it might have been dangerous at the time, but our brain will keep bringing that up and go, oh, look, there's something else that looks similar to that, and I'm going to put you in fight, flight, freeze mode to protect you. And you're absolutely right. I love your analogy about the computer and the coding and all of that back end stuff, because that is what is happening without us even realizing. That's our default. Our default happens that quickly. Just step into it. And that's why we aren't aware of our thoughts and our emotions. So there is a belief or a negative emotion, or there is a decision, a limiting decision that's attached to whatever that event was. And then as we come along in our lifetime, we attach more stories that back up that case. So, oh yeah, and there was that moment, and there was that moment, and there was that moment. And so it just all builds up. And the brain is saying, see, I told you, you're not safe.
Yeah.
And its main purpose is to keep us safe. Now, it kept us safe in that moment. We no longer require it. But what happens is all of this information that comes into us, and there's something like 11 million bits per second that we are taking in. That is a lot of information through all of our senses. There's visual, there's the feelings, there's the auditory, there's olfactory, gustatory. There's the 5 main senses we are absorbing constantly. Our brain cannot cope with that. So our brain deals with that by going, okay, I'm going to distort, delete, generalize, and then that way I can pick the bits of information that I can cope with. And so that's what it does. It just has its own filing system. And within that filing system is what's created our perspective, our beliefs, with the meaning that we put to it. So you and I could be at the exact same event, see the exact same things. It might be something that happens in the family, or it might be something that happens out and the police come and interview us, right? You and I will have a completely different story. There'll be elements of it that are the same, but there are elements that will be different. That is why we could be in the same situation and have different versions, and why siblings will have conversations and go, were you even raised in the same house as me?
Yes. We've all had those conversations. Or you went out last night with your mate and their story of the interaction at the bar is very different to yours. What? Did you not notice these things? Yes.
These beliefs that we create are things that we hold true. And so they're the filters that we see our life through. It's like wearing a pair of glasses that is red filters, and you see everything through the filter of red, or green filter. So you see everything through the green filter. Now add different filters and you're going to see a blurry kind of truth that isn't necessarily exactly as it was, but our brain will hold on to it and go, see, remember, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Decisions. We make these decisions where we go, I'm never going to trust a man again. I'm never going to trust, somebody again. Or I'm never going to agree to this situation, or speaking up or selling. See, the first time I went to sell, I got knocked back. I'm never going to do that again. That was humiliating. We create a story. We carry that with us.
Yeah.
And so it's about becoming aware of those triggers, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
I've created a tracker which, we record our emotions. So the event, then what was the emotion? What were the thoughts? What was our reaction? How did that result? What was the result? Was it the desired result we wanted?
Yes, I
So
hear you. And
pattern.
it's that's kind of the beginnings of self-awareness, isn't it? Because you've just slowed that right down. Like you used to say to me, okay, what was the thought? But there wasn't one. There was no thought. It just happens. And you'd be like, okay, there definitely is a thought. No. She's right. It's so weird. And sometimes that thought happens so fast that I kind of, no, I didn't. Did I think that? And I tried to, push it again. Let's try that again. So you said, you've got to be aware of the feeling, the thought. I love that. Like really slowing it down. And then does that kind of shed a bit of a light then on what's actually going on?
What just happened? You don't even know when we slip into a mood, right? A state of being. And we can feel it in our body, like something changes, we become stiffer. Even if you're not aware of it in the moment, you go, oh, my muscles are so stiff. Because there's something that happens, we have a thought, we have an emotion, and then we behave a certain way.
Then the response. Okay.
And then we look at, we might not be happy with that response later, but in that moment, it's how we responded. And then what happens is others respond to us accordingly as well.
Yes.
What we can do is we can blame others a lot. We can be the victim, or we can look at, okay, what is my responsibility in this? So it can be a cause or effect. When we are at effect, they're the reasons why stuff is happening. When we are at cause, we look at, okay, what can I do? How can I take responsibility so I can change things for my life?
Yeah. So I'm guessing what you're doing there is slowing that down so that you can, it's almost like saying running past really fast. Grab it, come here. And then go, what are you? Is this a belief I have? Is this a decision that I made when I was 3? And I say that, but that has happened to me. Like, what? Is this just an emotion that's overwhelming my system and kicking me into this, going straight into that response? Is that what we're doing? So we're kind of working out what it is, and then we can work with it?
Correct, because then you start to see the patterns of what keeps showing up for you. And so we do a lot of, I should have, I can't. Everyone else is able to, why can't I? We compare where we are and where somebody else is. And things like sales becomes icky, talking about sales, it becomes icky because we have a story around it. So whatever that story is, now for some people it's not icky because it's like, I just talk to people and I don't sell. Right. So what, that's a whole other podcast.
Yes. Why have we changed the name of it? I love that. I don't sell. I sell, but I don't sell. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm still uncomfortable with that, so I don't call it that. Yeah.
What is selling, right? It's really at the core of it. It's about building relationships, connecting with people and sharing what you love. When we see a movie, and we really love that movie, we tell everybody, oh, you should so go and see this movie. It's
we're selling it. Yeah.
All the time. But when we actually think I have to do sales, something else happens in our head, in our brain. And so it's about working out, what is it that happens in that moment when I think sales?
And I love that. And that is really powerful. I mean, like I said earlier, a lot of times in business, we come across these, I call them the icks, and for me, I really feel it in my body. They'll be in different places in my body as well, which is always interesting. Like this resistance in my body, or I tend to notice that more than I even notice my thoughts. I think that's shifting. The more I practice self-awareness, the less I'm in my head. So then I notice them when they pop in, if that makes sense. But I used to be all in here and never anywhere else. Like it was like anxiety 101, just keep going. I used to think my way out of everything. And the problem with that, like you're saying, is the thought is your brain looking at it through whatever colored lens it needed in that moment. So it's kind of a distortion. And until you tap into your body and your emotions and get the whole feedback, not just what your brain is saying, it's kind of hard to notice those limiting beliefs, those limiting decisions, and those negative emotions. And, you know, I would encourage anyone listening to this as a business person to, like I always say in my podcast, I'll say, oh, I've said the word sales funnel, or I've said marketing strategy. And is anyone having like a whole body experience? Great. Stop, drop, do what Sue just said. You know, like, okay, this feels gross. What is this? Because that is where the gold is, you know. And I think it's really interesting because a lot of the analogies we've been talking about are really about life, not about business. And then, you know, how do they cross over? Because obviously this shows up a lot in our lives, in our relationships with people, in our interactions every day. We've just sort of hinted about how it shows up in business. I mean, is there any difference? If I work on myself, will that automatically improve my business? If I work on my awareness in business, will that miraculously improve my relationship with my mother-in-law? You know, like, what? How does that work?
Absolutely spot on. When we have these limiting decisions, beliefs, these emotions that are negative emotions, because emotions are a good thing to have. It's just when they become a negative emotion that's derailing us, we need to clear it and release it because it's attached to a story that isn't helpful, right? But, you know, anger, fear, sadness, hurt, guilt, all those emotions, they're real emotions that we feel in life. It's about, do we stay stuck in them? And do we need to clear whatever that stuckness is so we can freely move forward? Because it's not meant to stay stuck in us. It's meant to flow through us, and then we do life. We embrace it, we process it, and we do life. And so, yes, when we have these limiting decisions, beliefs, emotions, negative emotions, they will filter through everything in our life. So we might be able to contain certain beliefs because they haven't been triggered. So we're doing life, and there will be a version of that comes up in life. Then we step into business, and all of a sudden it'll be like, what? Where were these emotions? Where were these fears? Because it's just tapping into another area that's triggering, or it's at a different level. And all it's doing is highlighting that they are there, but they're showing up in other areas. We just have learned to manage them a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
And we're working very much with a conscious.
Yes.
Right? But when we step into an area which puts us out of our comfort zone, that we now know can't control this, it'll show them up. And there'll be, the light will shine on them.
Well, that's why my business was screaming at me then. Because you're right. I guess your brain learns strategies to quieten you down and not notice because it's busy. It thinks it's doing the best thing. It's helping you. And it is, but it's kind of, like I say, it needs an operating system update to get the latest information about life. And there have been many sessions with Sue where we've laughed afterwards because we've been integrating parts. I mean, recently I did one and they were both saying the same thing, but I was really cross about that. So I'd be like, it wants joy, fine. I'm like a petulant child. It's really cross, and it's really interesting how this thing that had been stopping me from achieving what I wanted, this story, it's this part in me that was really protecting me, was actually based on something I experienced in middle school and was showing up whenever I was doing this kind of thing, a webinar, whenever I was in a coaching session with my coaches, whenever I was on stage pitching. And I'm awesome at pitching. I've won awards for that. But the whole time there was this part of me that was watching what everyone's facial expressions looked like and was judging me. Like, oh, can't believe you said that. Oh, it was exhausting because I was battling that whilst trying to do my best work. And I went to Sue and I was like, can we just talk to this voice? It sounds nuts, this voice in my head, because it is. It's like a part. And we did some work with that part, and that part was a child. Interestingly, it wanted the same thing as the part of me that didn't want to do that. They both were trying to keep me safe. And it had been triggered by a bullying incident, I guess, like by children being unkind to me when I'd moved schools. And there was this just decision that my brain made that went, that was awful. We don't want to ever feel that way. So we're never going to speak up, and we're going to really watch everything we say and make sure that that never happens again. And I wouldn't have been able to, even after working with Sue for a long time, I can't do that by myself. Like, it gets to a point where I'm aware there's a thing, I think it's this, and then I'll come to Sue and go, shall we do it? And that was a big one. It was a big one. It was awesome, and so I cannot praise enough this ability to notice and then have someone work with you to upgrade the operating system and go, great, we're not 12 anymore. We don't have to worry about whether we're popular and cool. I know that was uncomfortable, but there was another way we could deal with that. You think about how many years of my life that had shown up, and it wasn't until it had shown up in my business that I noticed. So I see exactly what you say. Like, that would have been everywhere. But
Yeah.
it was because I was trying to deliver great presentations and great keynotes, and I was just really cross with this thing because I knew it was wrong, and I'd be like, shut up. Shh. And I kept squishing it. No, shut up. And so he'll be like, yeah, I think we should probably deal with that. So I was like, I'll be fine. And eventually she was right. So I totally see what you mean. And that's why this podcast exists, because I just find that fascinating that and I guess business puts us out of our comfort zone so many times that our brain gets the chance. It doesn't get the chance actually to cover its ass. It's like, hang on, I see you. So I absolutely love that. So they're really not separate things, are they?
They're
you're
not.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. You're you. And it's a part of you that remembers something and has stayed at that space, right? And it's talking to you. And, as and I'll go into parts in a sec, but as women too, we're really good at doing things for others. Like we'll kind of, sit behind or work behind the service for others, whether it's, in our workplace, in our home, we do that. And that is a lovely thing that we do. But when we step into the spotlight for us is when a lot of these things will come up too. There's a lot of guilt around, spending time in my business and not as a mum. Taking away from my family now because I'm doing this thing for me. Is that selfish? There are a lot of those sort of things that come up for women in business in particular, because it's a little bit different to how we're trained to be.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so with parts, the beautiful thing about, and I love parts integration, because parts is really just when we're in conflict with ourselves. So there's a part of you that wants this. Part of me wants to have my own business and do my own thing and really grow and thrive. And part of me feels really, really guilty that I'm over there and not over here as a mum, And so there's this constant thing. So this constant conflict that is permanently with you is where there are two parts, and doing the integration. You're absolutely right. Those both parts are working are in conflict, but for your own good, for your own safety. Yeah. Intention, right? And this is where the whole conscious mind versus the unconscious mind comes to play, because in our conscious mind, everything, becomes analytical, and we think it and we control it, and it's about managing it. Whereas unconscious mind, we step into what is possible, the imaginative, the active imagination too happens in that, where we're, and some people will explain it as, head and heart combining, dropping in together and integrating rather than the separation.
Yeah. And I know that working with Sue is much faster than any other kind of therapy that I've done in the past. I remember when I first came to you, I was like, I've been doing this for
months, years even, and I'm just not getting there, because any kind of therapy that requires me to think and share my thoughts in my conscious mind means that there were so many blocks and there were so many limiting beliefs. I was never actually doing the bit that I needed to do. And the minute I mean, my conscious mind, as Sue knows, likes to fight and try to take control, but she's very good at not letting it. Like, it wants control all the time, and it's practicing. I mean, that's why meditation is great for me. That's why grounding is great for me. And I have those rituals and routines, as I talked about in one of my other episodes, in terms of leading yourself, making sure that you are not led by fear or this negative emotion or this limiting belief. And then once you're consciously watching for those, and you do like Sue says, and you're like, oh, right, what was I thinking? What was I feeling? And you go to Sue and she helps you unpack that. You get more and more practiced at that, the more you show up authentically. And that sounds really harsh, because I'm not saying that I wasn't authentically myself before. It's just that my version of myself was being run by all these things that I wasn't actually consciously aware of, which infuriates me. Sometimes I remember some sessions I've come up, I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, no way. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean this was a thing that happened when I was 4? How can a decision I made when I was 4 be controlling me 44? That's madness. But, if you don't notice, then that's just going to keep happening. You're going to have little tantrums, and you're going to get, 4-year-olding. You're going to 4-year-old your way through life. And my gorgeous little 4-year-old was doing exactly what my gorgeous little 4-year-old knew was the answer when they were 4, right? And the fact that it's gone into that brain and into that subconscious pattern means that I'm not in charge. And that's kind of weird and freaky. And I've said to Sue before, over the years that I've worked with her, I've had this real feeling of, like when you drive a car and you adjust your mirrors and you suddenly see things that you didn't know were there. Working with Sue is like that. You drive the car and you're quite sure you're going this way and there's no one in your blind spot. And then you learn a thing and the mirror moves and you're like, oh, there's that thing over there. Oh, well, let's go and explore that. And it's a bit like that, journeying into your mind with Sue. It's really great. And it's been a process, but a really enlightening, really beautiful process. And it can be really hard work, but it doesn't feel like hard work. Like, big stuff happens in the space of an hour, maybe longer sometimes, and you'll come out and you'll be like, oh my God, what time is it? And some massive shift has just happened, and you walk away going, the mirror's moved again. Okay. And you need that integration time as well. I think that's really important, isn't it? To just let all that settle. It's amazing. Goodness me.
And I love, that you picked up on it's a shorter span of time, because I had seen psychologists and counselors and, had done a variety of therapies because of my own background and history. And, it was fine to start off with. And then I'm like, but I'm telling the same story over and over again. And I still don't know how to move past this, right? And
stuck.
I felt stuck. Yeah. And so for me, and that isn't to say that all of those therapies don't have their place, because they do. It's just, when I came across NLP, and I came across it because, somebody did a breakthrough session on me with NLP, and I was just blown. My mind was blown that in a matter of 5 sessions, one, I didn't have to recap on all of my history again, because dragging that all up again just reinforces it.
Re-traumatizes. I know. Yes, that's what I said to them. Just keep traumatizing myself. I don't want it anymore. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if we understand how our neural pathways work, every time we remember something, we reinforce it and every time we tell ourselves that story, we reinforce that. And changing our reframing things helps us to change how the neural pathways develop. And that is why we can build new habits by creating new neural pathways. And retelling our story only reinforces all of that over and over and over again. And the other thing we do, it makes it bigger. It makes it scarier. And so shifting out of it makes it more difficult. So the thing that I love about NLP, Neuro-Linguistics Programming, is that it's very quick. It's intense in those 2 hours that we work together, but it is very quick. And when you come through the 2 hours, it is major shifts that have happened just in the 2 hours that, have taken years to move before.
I am nodding. I haven't experienced this. Yes. yes.
I came across this, I'm like, oh my God, I love this. This is amazing. So it started for me first. It wasn't for anybody else. But when I saw what I could do and what it did for me, I'm like, I just want to share this. I want to do this for others. If it was possible for me, it's so possible for everybody else.
And you do, and it's fabulous. And she's making waves, and then she's training other people to spread that light and make even bigger waves. She's amazing. She's great. It's awesome. I love what you said there about how we repeat these thoughts and then we reinforce them and then they get bigger. So things I hear a lot from my clients are, I'm no good at social media. Ugh, technology. I hate technology. Sue, I'm looking at you. Sue says that to me too. What else?
I'm changing that to technology loves me.
Yeah.
And I haven't mastered it yet.
Yes, that's better. It's so funny. But I hear these all the time. Like there are all these moments where all of this sort of creeps in, because the truth is you don't get to choose how much money they've got and whether they can afford you, but you can choose, to do a profit analysis on your product and think about the value you're bringing and see how much value you think that is worth to a person. Like you have to let them make a decision. Even little things like hiding your call to action on your website somewhere really obscure, and I'll say, well, how do they reach you? And they're like, oh, my phone number's in the footer. Right. Okay. So you want them to read all of this and then scroll all the way to the bottom to find your phone number. Yeah. That's it. Right. Okay. Why? Why are you hiding? Why is there not a button here that I can just call you? Like, why? Why are you hiding? All these little things show up. And if we don't notice them, we're kind of blocking our path to success personally and professionally, and definitely blocking our business's growth too. Have you got any stories you could share? Like, how have you seen that show up in business? Because I know that you work a lot with NLP and business owners. So have you seen that show up anywhere else?
Definitely. When I first stepped into business, I was a nervous wreck.
Aren't we all? You like the idea of business, and then you work out that business is quite hard, and I'd like a job, please. You're like, no.
I don't regret leaving my job and starting my business. It's just that when I was in my job, my role, I would do things like sell homes, not a problem, because I was working for someone and I was selling a home for someone. So I was quite happy to promote and put the light on someone else, right? When I was in schools, I was doing fundraising, no problem. Somebody would write a $100,000 check for a donation, not a problem, because I was talking about somebody else's product, if you like. I believed in education, and it wasn't coming into my pocket. It was going somewhere else, right? So all of that was easy. And then I stepped into my business, and then I was the face. I was the person that had to show up for me, telling people about my things and, purchasing my services, if you like. That I found really, really, that was before I did my breakthrough. So I found really, really, fear was heightened, at some crazy level, but debilitating. I was stuck because I wanted what the business was going to give me. I wanted what I could give to others. I wanted this. I wanted to go out and coach women and work with women and journey with them and spread this light. But I was stuck because I wouldn't post. I wouldn't even do a post. So I would write a post and text it to my coach. is this okay? She'd go, yep, that's great, post it. Oh, hang on, let me tweak it. I would say no.
Oh, bless you.
Perfectionism came in too, and that whole imposter syndrome came in too. It's like, who am I to be sharing this information? So I see this with women in different areas of their life. It could be in their career. They want to grow in their career, but I don't think they're worthy of putting in an application for the next level up. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody else does it so much better than me. Or to, launch their business, to stay silent. Social media is massive for women. That fear of social media is massive, and being judged, and the fear of it's going to get crickets, or the fear of people will say, who do you think you are to give us this wisdom? So yes, it shows up in many different forms. It shows up in busyness and distracting ourselves with other things.
Oh,
And
yes.
I ran out of time because the washing all of a sudden needed to be done that moment.
Oh, I like to distract myself with computer systems. Oh, I need to completely rewrite that entire marketing email sequence. And what other buttons can I press that don't involve humans judging me?
Canva. I'm going to take a post.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, 2 hours later, you're in Canva, and you're doing these amazing designs, but you still haven't posted that social media.
No, and they've not made you any money just yet. It reminds me of when I was an English teacher and we'd do speaking and listening. And this is back in the early noughties, where we'd take the kids to the computer room to use PowerPoint. Ooh. And they'd just spend 2 hours choosing the font. PowerPoint was a bit of a block to start with. Thank you, Canva. And AI now. We don't even need to worry about that. Like AI can make the PowerPoint. But it's fascinating, isn't it, how procrastination in itself or distraction in itself can also be a signal to stop, drop, and what did you say? We've got to look at the thoughts, look at the emotions. I love that. Yeah, what am I avoiding here? And sometimes we're just really tired. And it's like watching the fire, Canva. It's like, oh, pretty. I needed that for an hour. Okay, I feel better now. I'll go do something else. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I love it. Yeah. So yeah, developing that self-awareness in that. Yeah.
Perfectionism. Why are we looking to be perfect when there's no such thing as perfect?
No. We were talking. I had a coaching session this morning with a Business Made Simple coaches, and that came up. Imperfect action is the best thing. Because you're right, my version of perfect and your version of perfect, as you've described, we have different color lenses. We are never going to see the world the way the other person does. So it's actually a Mission Impossible moment, So I love that though for me. I love that I don't have to be perfect. I had to learn that very early on in my teaching career. Otherwise, I would have just frozen in front of groups of crazy teenagers every hour.
What's the story behind having to be perfect? Because there's a story behind it. It's a safety mechanism again.
Yeah, isn't it fascinating? Is everyone listening to this going, holy moly, my brain's doing a number on me? It probably is. And it means it with love. It really does believe that what it's doing is for your highest and best. But as we know, our brain isn't in charge of that. So isn't it interesting? I know I used to think my brain was kind of like where all the knowledge was, and it was very important, and it had all the answers. And I would read every book I could find to academically work my way out of a corner and end up backing myself firmly into the corner instead with overwhelm. The brain is kind of how we've associated moving forward and solving problems. But we don't ever stop to wonder, like you were saying, Sue, the amount of information we're feeding the brain and how the brain is filtering that information. Is there a little bit more to it? And obviously the answer is, yeah. If you want to work with Sue, is there a way that listeners to this podcast can tap into your wonderful expertise and love and care?
Yes, absolutely. And for your listeners, I'm giving for free a 45-minute Ignite session where we can look at, a decision or a emotion or belief that is there, and have a mini session with your podcast listeners. So they're able to get me on my through email, which is sue@suegiacobbe.com, or my website, which is Sue Giacobbe. So yeah, feel free to get in touch with me and we can set up a time. I think we talked about putting a Calendly link up.
Yeah. So you can head to the show notes. The link is just here below me right now, and go to the show notes. There'll be a link there that will take you straight to Sue's calendar so you can take her up on that. Please do. But do you know what? I think there's a piece of homework first. My recommendation would be go try and do something in your business that you resist, and then stop, notice, like Sue is saying, go to Sue's session going, okay, I listened to the podcast. I went away and I made the sales call. And before I did it, I felt this, I thought this. The more you can notice before you get to Sue, the more you will get out of that brilliant offer. 45 minutes for free with Sue. Oh my God, run. Do not walk. So yeah, head to the show notes. The link is here, and take her up on that offer. You will not regret it. Even if all you get from that session is an awareness of your lack of awareness. And I don't mean that hard. We all go through that when we go through that. It's like, oh my goodness, I hadn't realized. That in itself is just such an opening thing for you in your business, in yourself, in your soul, to just notice, to learn to notice that things are not as they seem. As Elmo would say, one of these things is not like the other. So, like just noticing that in itself is incredibly powerful. Thank you so much, Sue, for your time today and your beautiful wisdom. If you want to comment below and ask Sue any questions, please feel free to do so. I will direct them to her. I'm sure she will absolutely, but I know she will love to answer them. She loves to talk brains. And so, yeah, please comment below. And again, head to the show notes and take Sue up on that offer. Are there any final thoughts that you would like to share, Sue, on this topic of self-awareness in business and what might be happening?
Yeah, get playful with it. Be that curious observer, open-minded. There is no bad, right? There is just what is, and we don't know until we know. So
yes,
become that playful, curious, open-minded observer that goes, oh, I see that now. Because when you do that from that place, you're not judging yourself. You're not being hard on yourself. You're not hiding it. Then you can play with it. And this is a lot about being playful around some of this work and seeing what's on the other side. And trust me, the joy that you feel on the other side is just on another level.
She's right. And that's what I love about Sue, because there are lots of NLP practitioners. But did you just hear that? Sue is amazing. I go in there and I'm very mean to myself, and she will just keep bringing me back to that curiosity and that play and that lack of judgment, which makes it an incredibly safe place to do this work with Sue. That is who Sue is. She is just joy incarnate. She's a big sparkler. So go and just be in her presence for 45 minutes. Head to the show notes, take her up on that offer. Thank you so much, Sue. We have loved listening to your beautiful wisdom, and I hope that the listeners today get to experience a bit of your Sue magic, even if it's over Zoom. If you're not in Adelaide, take her up on that offer. And we will hopefully see you again soon on the podcast to share some more wisdom.
Love to. And thanks for having me, Selena. It's always a joy to play with you, because I do love it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that too. Yeah. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Inner Business Podcast. Let us know what key takeaways you had. Oh my goodness, my brain is full of joyous, bouncy thoughts. I love talking to Sue. So share with us below what's come up for you. And I will see you this time next week on the Inner Business Podcast. Take care.